Hiya, me again. Story today is called My Two Grannies by Floella Benjamin. Alvina had two grannies who loved with all her heart. They were called Granny Vero and Granny Rose. Granny Vero was born in the Caribbean island of Trinidad, and Granny Rose was born in Yorkshire, a town called Barnsley. They lived in the same city as Alvina and her parents. Alvina always looked forward to visiting her grannies because she loved hearing the stories they told about her when they were little girls. And there you can see where they live. There's one granny living in that house. There's Alvina and her mum and dad living quite close. And the granny that was born in Trinidad lives not too far away. Tell me about Trinidad again, Alvina begged. Don't you ever get tired of hearing the same stories, Alvina? Granny Vero said. Never, said Alvina. When I was your age, we would go to the beach and splash around in the tropical sea, said Granny Vero, with a big smile on her face. We never wanted to come out of the warm water. There they are, splashing around in the sea. Alvina trying to see where Trinidad is on the map. Perhaps that's something you could do. Try and find where Trinidad is on a map. I would love you to do that, Granny V, said Alvina. Well, one day I will take you to Trinidad, darling, said Granny Vero. I promise. When Alvina saw Granny Rose, she asked, Did you swim in the sea all day when you were little? No, lovey, laughed Granny Rose. The sea in Blackpool was much too cold. But we did play in the beach all day long and ride on the donkeys. We must all go to Blackpool one day so you can do that too. Oh, please, yes, please, said Alvina. And there they all are in Blackpool with the donkeys. Both grannies loved to play music on their old record players, and Alvina loved listening to it. Granny Rose played brass band music. This music always reminds me of when we used to go to the park on Sundays to listen to the local brass band. On May Day, we would watch the Morris dancers fling their arms in the air and jingle the bells on their legs as they twirled around the maypole to the music. Oh, let's try it, Granny asked, said Alvina, as they both fell exhausted into a heap of laughter when they tried to do the Morris dancing. And there they are doing the Morris dancing with their handkerchiefs dancing away there. Granny Vero's favourite music was calypso, and a steel band. This is what we used to play in Trinidad, Granny Vero explained to Alvino. It always made me want to dance in the streets at carnival time. Come on, Alvino, shake your waist while you dance. Oh, like this, Granny V. That's right, darling. There they are, dancing away to calypso music. One day, Alvino's two grannies were at her house for tea. Alvino's mum said, It'll be our 10th wedding anniversary next month. Why don't the two of you go away together? Be more than happy to look after Alvino, said Granny Vero. No, I will look after her. She came to stay with me, said Granny Rose. The two grannies argued and argued about who would look after Alvino. So Alvino said, Why don't you both stay and look after me? The two grannies frowned at each other but agreed, yes, they would look after Alvina together. The day arrived when Alvino's parents were going off on holiday. Have a nice time, said Alvino, hugging her mum and dad tightly. We're going to miss you, said Mum. Be a good girl for your grannies, said Dad. I will, said Alvino. Don't worry, I'll look after her, said Granny Vero. And so will I, said Granny Rose. And there they are, Mummy and Daddy going off on holiday, and the two grannies arguing about who's going to look after Alvino the best. As they waved her parents goodbye, Alvino said, let's play a game. We can play dominoes, or we can play snakes and ladders. Alvino did not know which game to play first, so she said, Shall we go for a walk? Oh, yeah, let's go to the park. We can feed the ducks. Or we could go to the zoo and see the iguana and the toucan. Alvina didn't know what to do, so she asked, Shall we have something to eat first? I'll cook a lovely steak and kidney pie with mashed potatoes, said one granny. No, let me cook some nice rice and peas with chicken and plantains. Alvina decided who should cook, so they got something out of the freezer. There they are arguing about what they were going to cook, and there's Alvina getting something out of the freezer. At bedtime, the two grannies both wanted to tell Alvina a story. How about an Anansi story, said Granny Vero. Or I could tell you the story of Jack and the Beanstalk, said Granny Rose. The next morning, when Alvina got up, she had an idea. She sat down with the two grannies at breakfast table. Granny V and Granny R, I love the things you both do for me, so why don't you take turns? Granny V can do everything one day, and Granny R can do everything the next day. And that's what happened. They all played dominoes the way Granny Vero did when she was a girl. Afterwards, Granny Vero cooked peas and rice, chicken and plantains with mango flan for pudding. Oh, this is lovely, Granny V, said Alvina, tucking in. Very nice, said Granny Rose. You must give me the recipe. And there they are, tucking in to their nice meal of plantains, rice and mango pudding. Sounds nice, actually. They went to the zoo and saw the aguati and the toucan, the animals Granny Vero had seen in the forest as a girl in Trinidad. Must have been wonderful to see those animals in the wild, said Granny Ro. There the toucans, flying around in the zoo. That night, Granny Vero told an exciting Anansi story. Anansi would turn herself into a spider whenever he was in trouble, she said, or if he wanted to play a trick, chipped in Alvina, who couldn't help joining in. The Anansi sounds crafty, said Granny Rose. He is, said Alvina, with his eyes wide as saucers. Alvina gave both her grannies a big hug, fell fast asleep with a smile on her face, and the grannies smiled too. And there she is, sound asleep, and the grannies happy that she is happily asleep. The next day it was Granny Rose's turn. They played snakes and ladders. Down the snake I go, said Granny Rose. Never mind, said Granny R, said Alvina. You won the last game. Then they went to the park and Alvina fed the ducks. Oh, that duck is greedy. It's eating all the bread, laughed Alvina. I'll give them some too, said Granny Vero. This is such fun. There they are, feeding the ducks. Granny Rose cooked steak and kidney pie with mashed potatoes and carrots and apple pie for pudding. You must show me how to make the steak and kidney pie, said Granny Vero. It's delicious. At bedtime, Granny Rose told the story of Jack and the Beanstalk. Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman. Alvina and Granny Rose said together. I like that part of the story, said Alvina. Run, Jack, run. Yes, run, Jack, giggled Vero. The two grannies took turns for the rest of the week to look after Alvina. They really got to know each other better. When Alvina's parents came back from holiday, she was excited to see them. Did you have a nice time with your grannies? Asked Mum. Oh, yes, Alvina, we had lots of fun. They both made me feel so special. That's because we love you, chirped the two grannies, and they gave her a great big hug. The end. Night, night.